since Eric von Daniken first published his book Chariots of the Gods, the Ancient Alien Theory, a theory that suggests intelligent extraterrestrial beings played a role in the creation and development of human beings, has intrigued, fascinated, and in some cases angered millions of people around the world. Yet, despite its popularity, evidence, and in many cases obviousness, most mainstream archaeologists, scientists consider this theory to be junk science. But what if a word, a mysterious single word, was the missing piece of evidence that would bridge the gap between not only our ancient civilizations but the believers and the non-believers? Well, one of the most mysterious words in the English language might do just that. So let's not waste another minute, let's dive into this mystery and let's get to it. The English language, which is derived from German, Latin, and French, can be traced back to the early 5th century AD. However, despite all attempts, there is one word that etymologists and linguistic experts fail to locate the origins of. A simple 3-letter word that most of us use on a daily basis: dog. The German word for dog is Hund, in Latin Canis, and the French word is chien. So where does dog come from? An inconsequential thought for most. However, when you look to other cultures around the world, the word dog can be found within their language, and that word almost always seems to describe the same god who came from the stars to live in the sea. Located in Mali, Africa, an indigenous tribe called the Dogon people worship their god they call the Nomo, a god who is said to have come from the stars and lived in the sea. Now, what is fascinating about this tribe is that they are very specific about the star these gods came from, and in fact, they know the exact star, and the crazy part, this star was not even discovered until 1862.
What amazed these anthropologists was that the Dogon tribe possessed knowledge of the Sirius star system that no ancient people should ever have.
Located within the Canis Major constellation, many people are very familiar with our brightest star in the sky, Sirius A. However, most people are unaware of the other stars that make up this constellation, especially the smallest and most dimmest of them all, Sirius B. In fact, the only way to see this star is through a high-powered telescope, which is why it was not discovered until 1862. So, how is it that an ancient culture whose written and oral traditions and history that date back to 3200 BC not only identify this specific star as the origin of their gods, but know the exact location, size, density, and orbit?
And yet they knew of its absolute existence, and they called it Potolo, which is a tiny seed found in West Africa. And they said it's a tiny star, but it's the heaviest thing that there is. Well, they were alluding to the fact that white dwarf stars have some of the highest density of any stellar bodies that we know of. And that's not something an ancient people should have known anything about.
The unbelievable accuracy and depth of knowledge that the Dogon people possess has baffled scientists for decades and leaves them speechless in regards to how they obtained this knowledge. However, it is not the only location in which evidence of the gods from the dog star can be found. Just 800 miles to the south, found buried deep beneath the earth, were small figurines, some of which that date back to 17,000 BC. And these figurines not only look like the gods that the Dogon people worship, but their name sounds very familiar as well, the Nomoli. While searching for diamonds, locals in Sierra Leone uncovered a set of amazing and intriguing stone figures that bear numerous similarities to the Nomo figures found in Mali. So much so that you have to ask the question, are these the same gods that the Dogon people worship? To further the intrigue and mystery, found embedded within several of these 15,000-year-old statues were chromium spheres, perfectly spherical metallic chrome balls that would be impossible to create without highly advanced technology and knowledge to use this technology. Now, there are several ancient legends regarding the Nomoli, but the most prevalent describes them as angels who were banished from the heavens and forced to live on earth among the humans, which also mirrors numerous other cultures and their stories of the fallen angels, a race of giant, powerful beings who possess the knowledge of the gods and the universe, who too were banished from heaven and forced to live among the humans. And one of the most well-known of these ancient civilizations that has the story of the fallen angels is actually known as the cradle of civilization. Located 6,500 miles to the north in modern-day Iraq lie the ruins of the ancient city of Babylon, a massive, highly advanced city-state and the most famous of all ancient Mesopotamian cities, as it is mentioned or featured in several ancient stories as well as in our modern-day religion, most notably the Old and New Testament of the Bible. Like the Dogon, the Babylonians were also known for their advanced knowledge and accuracy of the stars and planets, and, like the Dogon, the gods of Babylon, the Anunnaki, came from the stars and heavens to live among the humans. And they too were portrayed and described as giants, but the most intriguing thing about the Babylonians and their gods, the Anunnaki, is the name of their chief god, Dagon. A warrior god and protector of the Babylonians, Dagon is portrayed as a merman and is often referred to as the fish god. Also mentioned in the Hebrew text of the Old Testament as a pagan god of the Philistines, remains of Dagon can also be found in ancient Philistine, as they referred to him as their fertility god, with several ancient temples constructed in his honor. And intriguingly enough, located just 3,600 miles away in Newgrange, Ireland, there is an ancient Celtic structure that legend claims was built by a Celtic god they called Dagda. Located in the Boyne Valley and constructed 5,200 years ago, Newgrange predates not only the Great Pyramid of Giza, but Stonehenge as well, a massive Neolithic monument with a large 85-meter circular mound that stands 14 meters high and is surrounded by 97 large curbstones. Inside of this massive monument is a 19-meter stone passageway that leads to the chambers inside. Originally classified as a passage tomb by archaeologists, it is now known to be much more than that. A place of spirituality and worship, Newgrange is now most famously known for its astronomical features and accuracy, most notable the box that sits above the main entrance and marks the day of the winter solstice. That being said, new research has shown that along with Newgrange and the other structures that surround it have now been found to line up with the constellation Canis Major, which of course is the location of our brightest star, Sirius A. Local legend claims that Newgrange was built by their Celtic god they called Dagda, a giant who legend claims came from the stars. The Dogon, Dagon, Dagda, eerily similar names with eerily similar descriptions of their gods. Giant beings who came from the stars or a specific star, similar descriptions, depictions, and all of it leaving mysteries and unanswered questions unless we accept the ancient legend that these structures, these statues depict these ancient civilizations' gods. Giant beings who came from the stars and interacted with ancient man, and thousands of small clay figurines that were found all over Japan and that date back nearly 14,000 years lend even more evidence that these ancient legends just might be true. Known as the Dogu, these mysterious ancient figurines have become world famous due to their striking resemblance to that of our modern day astronauts. Found intentionally buried all over the land of ancient Japan, with some dating back nearly 14,000 years, you cannot help but notice these statues do bear a striking resemblance to another ancient civilization's figurines, the Nomoli. So again, we see similarities in name, appearance, and importance, and if you still believe in coincidences to this extent, Japan has another ancient legend that involves the oldest imperial royal bloodline and their god that they are said to be descended from, Doragon. Traced back to 660 BC, the imperial royal family of Japan is said to be descendants from their god Doragon, or in English, dragon, a god that legend claims came from the stars and dwelled in the sea. And of course, despite popular culture, modern day depictions of dragons flying around in the sky, this is actually not the case with Japanese cultures. They always depicted the Doragon as a water deity. When looking over the totality of evidence and similarities that we find between these ancient civilizations, there does come a point when coincidence becomes very unlikely, or at the very least merits a deeper look. Why was this one word so important? Was it the name of their gods, or was it the only word the ancient civilizations could understand? Does it have something to do with the dog star Sirius A? Who was this ancient being that the ancient civilizations speak of and depict as their god from the stars? And finally, does it have something to do with our modern day word for dog? Where does this word come from? And interesting question, why do we associate it with man's best friend? Leave your thoughts below and let me know what you guys think. That's going to do it for me on this one, guys. Thank you so much for coming by, checking out my video. I am still super new at this whole YouTube thing, and I would really love to grow this channel. So if you could, massive favor, that icon that probably just clicked right over here, right there, you see it? Give it a click, go to my channel, hit that subscribe button, keep coming back for more videos. Once again, guys, thank you so much for coming by. My name is Corey James, and I'm out.